Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
And welcome
There
to
is loud noise in the hallway. I'm sorry. I have no control over that.
welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we're going to start off with what media we're consuming. Amir, start off.
Okay, we were just having this discussion off recording, but Star Wars: The High Republic, which is the new era of Star Wars, just dropped the first piece of media for that. Maybe not the first, because I read somewhere online that someone dropped like a short story in it's like a canon short story in a magazine or something. I've never heard anything about that. That was my first time hearing anything about it. I'm probably not going to check that out. Maybe eventually. I just don't feel like hunting down a magazine to find it. But the first like official book for the High Republic just dropped, called Light of the Jedi. I'm listening to the audiobook. It just dropped the day that we're recording this. So January 5th. Yeah, no, it's amazing. There's like music and sound effects, and I love it.
Yeah, I should mention.
So,
This is the first episode of the year. That's dope.
oh, it is. I didn't even
I
realize
don't even
that.
remember when we started. I have to go back to YouTube and see what day I released the first episode. But yeah, we're on episode
Was it
9.
like early October, maybe? I
Yeah,
want to say early October.
we're on episode 9, and I'm excited.
Almost double digits.
This is fire. But
Oh, yeah, hold on. Wait. Okay, High Republic, listen to that audiobook. I got Call of Duty Cold War, which has been a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun to just turn off your brain and play a Call of Duty game. I just hit level 54, possibly, in the game, so I've been playing like nonstop. Um, I think that's about it, honestly. I haven't been consuming a lot of media lately. I've just kind of been like in my lane, so.
yeah, can you hear me all right? Last time? Like clear? Okay. Because there's like a fan in the background. I wasn't sure if it was like loud.
Okay.
Yeah, so recently, I'm going to talk about this a lot more later, but I watched Wonder Woman 1984 on Christmas Day.
Oh, God.
We'll talk about that later.
Forgot I saw that movie.
Oh, you actually watched it. Thank you. I'm glad you watched it. Now
Yeah, you made me watch it, and I'm mad that I wasted my money on that.
So, other things I've been watching, Samurai Jack, Cowboy Bebop. I've been watching those. I started rewatching Samurai Jack like 2 years ago, and I watched the first 3 seasons, and then I couldn't find season 4 anywhere, but it's on HBO Max now. So I've been watching season 4, and then I'm gonna watch season.
Everything is on HBO Max now.
I've been mentioning for the last few episodes that I've been rewatching Cowboy Bebop. That's fun. I watched Disney Gallery Mandalorian season 2 of that show, which is basically them talking about behind the scenes of the making of the show. The second season, first episode was just basically like a mini doc. It was an hour-long episode talking about the entirety of season 2, going episode by episode, with the directors and actors discussing, how they worked on it. That was dope to watch. They added Batman the Animated Series to HBO Max on the first, and that's been dope. I started to rewatch that also sometime earlier last year, but I stopped paying for DC Universe, so I'm glad they finally added it to HBO Max, which I hope eventually they add all of their DC stuff to HBO Max, because nobody wants to have to pay for 2 separate streaming services from the same company, which is ridiculous. So yeah, that's been dope. The order, it was weird because the order of the episodes on DC Universe is in production order, while the order of the episodes on HBO Max is in the order that they aired on TV. I didn't realize that there was 2 different orders, because it's also the same way on the DVD, which I've never owned, but because I looked it up because I was confused, and people were like, it's the same way.
I own the DVDs.
The DVD is in production order. And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, production order, first off, is way better, because I feel like it spaces out the episode with like big major Batman villains, whereas in air date order, like the first 10 episodes, the first episode is Catwoman, then it's like Mr. Freeze almost immediately, then Joker, then Clayface, then Two-Face, and I'm like, whoa, calm down, you got to space this out a bit. You got to like pace it out, otherwise you'll have a stretch of like 10 episodes that people aren't going to be too interested in, despite the fact that I don't really have an episode that I dislike greatly. but like you gotta pace it out well. Otherwise, you're just gonna put all the good episodes in one part, and then after that, it's gonna get a little dull, even though it's still good. But yeah, the last thing so for the games I've been playing, on Christmas, my mom got my brother Oculus Quest 2, and I bought him 2 games. I bought him Super Hot and what is it, Star Wars Galaxy Edge or something like that. And we were playing.
But Galaxy Edge Adventure, something like that. I wanted to play it. I haven't seen a lot about it, but
Yes. So Super Hot was mad fun to play. I've never that was my first time using a VR headset, and it is fun. It feels weird because it feels like it's right in front of you. It's dope. And Super Hot.
Wait, even at Artscape, you never use the VR stations they have?
Nah. Super Hot is really fun to play. I'm probably gonna go over to their house. They only live up the block from me and play it some more. And there's way more room in their house to play with it than in here. So yeah, that was fun. And last but not least, I started to get back into Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I've been playing the mess out of it. I recently took a break. I haven't played the game since like I think the weekend after Christmas. I haven't really played the game since then. But before that, I was just playing Final Fantasy VII almost every day, and that game is really fun. I'm getting close to the end. It's probably going to be the first RPG I beat, which is interesting. And I still have to beat Doom. Doom is fun, but like I don't like to rush my way through. We talked about this before. TV shows, games. If I don't feel like watching it, like I stopped watching Core in the middle of the 3rd season. I stopped watching Haikyuu like in the middle of the 1st season. I recently started getting back into Haikyuu. I actually should have added that to my list. I've been watching Haikyuu as well. Oh, Cobra Kai! Look at season 3.
Cobra Kai season 3. Yeah, I binged it in one day.
I mentioned Cobra Kai season 3. I binged it as well.
That was an amazing season.
Here's the thing: I was about to watch all of it. I binged like the first 8 episodes, and I wasn't even tired, but I was sitting there watching it. No, I think I did get tired because I was about to just be like, all right, let me watch these last 3 episodes. And then but then I was like, you know what? Let me go to sleep. I'll watch the last 3 tomorrow morning. And I woke up in the morning and I watched the last 3 episodes. That show continues to be fantastic. That show is so good.
Honestly, I think they're gonna end after season 4 because I don't see much else they can do with it after season 4. But like,
I feel this.
It's a great show.
It's still fresh, so I don't really want to spoil it yet. But we will be spoiling Wonder Woman. But I will get there. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. Media I've been consuming. So yeah, you know what? Let's get straight into Wonder Woman. I know I already knew that you wouldn't. I wasn't even sure if you even watched it until you just told me. But when you
I'm mad that you made me spend money on that because that movie was bad.
Yeah. So before we get into it, first off, I want to say I don't think the movie is horrible, but I do think that it could have been way better. I think that it's still an enjoyable movie. You can sit down and watch it and like it, but it's hard not to notice what's not good about it. So I'm just going to go through a little list before we get into it of what I like about the movie, and then we can get into what I don't like. So
that's a good idea because there are a few things I like about the movie. Go ahead.
I actually like this movie. I actually like it more than the first one. I watched the first one afterwards, like directly afterwards, and I need to watch the second one again to solidify if that is the case or not. I meant to do it this weekend, but I basically just forgot. I wasn't really that busy yet. I wasn't that busy. I just forgot. But and I was gonna watch it this morning, but I was tired this morning, and that movie's long as hell. I wouldn't be able to get through the movie if I tried to watch it this morning. So I'll watch it at some point this week. But yeah, I liked it more than first. At first when I watched it, I was like, I'm not sure. I feel like the first one might be better. But then I watched the first one. I was like, I still like the first one, but I like the second one just a tiny bit more, which I'll get into. This one is like 10 minutes longer than the first one, and it feels like it's 30 minutes longer because there's not nearly as much action. Wait, I'm getting to the criticism. I'm still talking about the good stuff.
I was gonna say, you talk about the good stuff. I'll talk about some stuff I like, and then we can get into the criticism because I took notes. This is the first movie I took notes on what I didn't like about it.
As you know, I take a lot of notes. So for me, it was, and a lot of people reviews that I watched, they agreed that it's meant, at least seemingly, to like basically personify the 80s, and not just the 80s, but like those 80s Superman movies. And because of that, it's kind of cheesy, but not
Kinda.
But to me, it still manages to mix contemporary storytelling with that 80s cheesiness. So for me, it doesn't push it too far. For a lot of people, it does, which I don't see, but I can understand why people feel that way. It's very much more about characters and character relationships than it is an action movie like most, superhero movies. And simply, the best way to describe this movie is simple, but maybe effective to some people. But I feel like I can't get into the good without also talking about the criticism. So we're just gonna get into the criticism.
Wait, because I still got stuff that I did like about it. Okay, I gotta take a better picture of that. Okay, so the first bit of the movie, like the flashback to Themyscira, though this is honestly like kind of a backhanded like thing I liked about it, but I liked the beginning of the movie with the flashback to Themyscira. It was disjointed and felt completely separate from the rest of the movie, though.
It did. It never paid off. It never came back in anything.
It never paid off, like at all. Like it was like there's no point to have that in the beginning of the movie anyway. It's the only part of the movie that I like.
Actually, I think what they were trying to get at was because at the very end she was like, she wanted to win, and her mother was like, "You can't have everything." And then the story leaned into the fact that she couldn't have everything. She couldn't have her cake and eat it too. She couldn't have Steve and have her powers and be a superhero. But still, even then, it still didn't feel connected to anything. It
didn't feel connected at all. Like I could see what they were trying to go for, and in my eyes, they failed on that. I also like Pedro Pascal's performance.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is good in everything he does, and Wonder Woman kind of felt like Wonder Woman. I don't like Gal Gadot either as an actress or a person, but I thought she felt like Wonder Woman, I guess. That's about the end of the good that I can really say.
For me, because actually I do have a few more good things to say now that you mentioned it, is that all of the performances I think were fantastic. Especially Gal Gadot. I think that Gal Gadot is just she's a really good Wonder Woman. She, like you said, she's Wonder Woman. It's just this movie didn't do enough.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said she was better.
I'll say that. I think that she is a fantastic Wonder Woman. And I won't say anyone else. I wouldn't say anyone else could do it because I'm sure other people probably could. But I just think that she's a perfect Wonder Woman. She's great at what she does. And despite this movie, all of the actors performed their very best. All of them. Basically, the main three characters: Wonder Woman. I was going to say Steve, but Steve wasn't really a main character, so that's why
he wasn't a main character.
Yeah.
Steve also. Sorry, go ahead. There's just
Maxwell Lord and Cheetah. They were all. I think all of them were really good. And also, even though there was so little of it, and it made me upset, when the action happened, it was good. It's just that it wasn't enough of it. And I feel like the way Wonder Woman moves is so different from pretty much every superhero movie in a way that somebody with super strength usually fights. They usually just bulldoze through everything and break things and destroy things, whereas Wonder Woman and her super strength and speed is more graceful. And she slides a lot. Ever since the first movie, she slides whenever she fights. And I just think her, the way she fights is so unique in comparison to most superhero films, especially superheroes with super strength. And I love the action. It just wasn't nearly enough of it. And, the biggest criticism, which I'm sure both of us agree with, and that this could have easily been the deciding factor in this movie being much better, which is if Maxwell Lord was closer to his comic book counterpart. And I'm pretty sure Pedro Pascal 100% would have pulled it off.
There's a lot of noise in the hallway, my bad. Yeah. Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah. For me, I don't mind the changes to his powers. What I mind is the change to his personality. I think they could have made the whole him being the Witching Stone thing still work, but him being the the guy that hates metahumans, who basically wants to what's the word? Govern them. He wants to have control over them so that they can't destroy stuff like he's seen them do 1,000 times. And that's what his character's in the comics for people who don't know. In the comics, because I know I mentioned how his powers differ. In the comics, he's psychic, and that's his power. Except much like in the movie, he harms himself when he uses it. Um, and he's involved in a big character moment for Wonder Woman in the comics that I wasn't sure if that was going to happen in this movie or not. And I understand why it didn't, but I feel like it would have been cool if it did. Because a big difference between Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman is that of those three, she's willing to kill a person if it means saving people.
I feel like it should also be known that it's rare that she kills.
Yeah,
she kills only as a last resort. Yeah.
And with Maxwell Lord in that story that we're referring to, she basically put the lasso of truth around him and asked him how to stop him and keep him from ever mind controlling someone again. And he said, "You'll have to kill me." And she said, "Bet," and snapped his neck.
Yeah. Because
she was mind controlling Superman and making him fight her and Batman, and she knew he was going to do it again. He knew he was going to do it again. He's like, "If you want to stop me, you're going to have to kill me." So she killed him. And I feel like that would have been a great time for them to straight up be like, because the way his character was in this movie, if she killed him, it would have been weird. But if he was his comic book counterpart, I feel like, and like you said, you agreed with me, I feel like that was the only missing part. It would have solved the action problem, because if he was a government agent, he would have had access to tons of soldiers for Wonder Woman to beat up. And Cheetah could have still been part of the story. And even, because I feel like they're setting up the fact that Cheetah's going to still get her powers from the Goddess of the Hunt later on. Mm-hmm. They just wanted to give her a taste of the powers here so that she'll crave it later and go after it. Because for a second I thought she was about to kill Cheetah when they were underwater, and she was like, "Are you sure you're not going to renounce your wish?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, she about to kill Cheetah?" Because I was like, this whole movie I'm expecting she might kill Maxwell Lord. So I was like, if she kills Cheetah right now, it would make sense and lead into the fact that she's willing to kill people if it means to save other people. But she didn't. She just electrocuted her.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Hang on, let me get my notes real quick, because there was a lot. All right, give me like 1 second. Yeah, long story short, I didn't like the movie like at all.
That's understandable.
That's the short end of it. Give me a sec.
Like, I can never get upset when people say they don't like this movie, because I look at it and go, "Yeah, I see why you don't like it. I enjoyed it." It definitely could have been way better.
It could have been way better. Okay. So there are great ideas.
Yeah.
They fail on most fronts, but there are good ideas. Like, you can see like the bare bone ideas of what they were going for.
Yeah.
There are some really powerful scenes, but it has a bunch of problems in it. Wonder Woman, I will admit, her arc was compelling. It was a good arc for her character. It was not. She's not
also
used well in the first half of her own movie.
Yeah, I also should say you aren't even the biggest Wonder Woman fan.
I'm not.
Yeah, which is why you didn't want to watch it in the first place. But I was like, watch it just for the sake of the podcast, even if you don't like it, so we can have a discussion. But like,
I mean, like, Wonder Woman is okay. Like, I'm starting to appreciate Wonder Woman more. I feel like that's something I do a lot, is like, when I read characters in like team up books and stuff like that. Like, this happened for Black Widow. This happened for Hawkeye. You know, Hawkeye is literally my favorite fictional character of all time. That didn't happen until very recently, because I used to read him in team up books and I hated him. And then I read him in, like, what was it, the 2012 Matt Fraction series, and I don't even know what spurred me to read him, because I was like, I don't like Hawkeye, but it spurred me to read him. Now he's my favorite fictional character, and I love him in more stuff. And the same thing happened to Black Widow. I didn't like Black Widow. Then I started reading her solo series, and her solo series are probably some of the objectively best comics I've read. I'm starting to read more Wonder Woman solo series, and she's not as bad. I like her more. I still don't like her much, but I like her more than I did.
For me, it's great. For me, it's similar with Hawkeye. Like, I didn't finish Matt Fraction run, which I will eventually, but the reason I picked it up was because it was in a library, and I looked at it and it was dope, and I was like, "Oh, this comic is fantastic." And I read all the volumes they had in the library, but they didn't have all of them, so I never finished it. And with Wonder Woman, I liked the character in Justice League, the anime series, and Justice League Unlimited. That's what made me go, okay, Wonder Woman's cool. But then it was the first movie that I go, okay, Wonder Woman's interesting. But it was actually this movie that made me go, I think I really like Wonder Woman as a character. Because like you said, she had a good arc in this movie. And I was like, I could see how, because I think that, I'm mad that I forgot her name. We talked about her a lot last podcast. She's directing the Star Wars.
Patty Jenkins. She's directing Rogue Squadron.
She's because I feel like she's always working. She's already working on the third movie. People make mistakes. She'll learn from it, and I think the third movie. I think that I have faith, and I think that she'll learn from her mistakes, and the third movie will be fantastic. Because of the weird timeline of the DC universe and a lot of the bad movies in that universe, I'm not sure where they're going to take it in terms of timeline, like if they'll go to modern day or if they'll go into like early 2000s or something, I don't know, 90s. But I'm excited to see where that goes, because I think that Gal Gadot, well, like I said, I like all the actors, but Gal Gadot specifically as Wonder Woman, I really enjoy her as Wonder Woman and want to see her take that character further. And this movie did enough for that character specifically that made me go, okay, I think I really enjoy Wonder Woman's character and I want a lot more from her. I've said before that I've wanted a Wonder Woman animated series. I said that and tweeted it, and the voice actress of Wonder Woman, Susan Eisenberg, actually liked my tweet and retweeted it.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was dope. I think I said it before, a similar thing happened where Greg Baldwin, the voice of Iroh and Aku from Samurai Jack, retweeted and liked my tweet on when I mentioned he was the voice of the storyteller in Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
It's dope when that happens. But,
I remember when Hawkeye Freefall was first starting, and I tweeted something about it that I really liked, and I had a question about it, and Matt Rosenberg, who was writing the series, responded to my tweet. He liked it, responded to it, and I was like, bro, what? I freaked out.
Yeah, that's dope. But
I think Maxwell Lord was great.
Yeah.
It was, of course, Pedro Pascal. And despite the fact that he wasn't comic accurate.
But it can be good.
Life is good. But it can be. Yeah, no, that meme is blowing up everywhere. I love it.
The one
he worked really well. Everything about his character worked really well, for my opinion. I don't think that the movie needed to be set in the 80s at all. Like, it would fit perfectly fine in the modern day. And it kind of suffered a bit from being set in the 80s. They were trying to go for the campiness, and in my opinion, failed on all fronts on trying to purposely make it like funnily campy. You see stuff set, like modern day stuff set in the 80s all the time, like Stranger Things, which I think I've told you before. I don't even really like Stranger Things, but something that Stranger Things does well is they lean in well with the campiness of the 80s, and I enjoy that. That's not the case with Wonder Woman, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that the fact that it takes place in the 80s is the problem. It's just that they didn't, like you said, they didn't take advantage of it properly. They kind of used it as an excuse to make it kind of corny rather than just making the actual good movie that just happens to take place in the 80s.
I feel like part of the problem was that a lot of what we know, and this is another completely separate issue that I didn't even think of until now. Wonder Woman 1984 kind of breaks the DCEU's timeline, because in Batman vs. Superman, Wonder Woman was like working in the shadows since World War II, since Steve Trevor died, and like hadn't had a big major appearance. But in 1984, she's basically Superman, but like not, you know what I mean? So it's just like,
nobody knew what she looked like in the 80s. So she would just break all the cameras and just run around, do something real quick, and then leave. Like she was. But
it's still the fact that like Batman would very easily be able to find reports of, oh, there's some weird mysterious woman with a bright red bodice and like shiny gold. Like,
yeah. I don't think
I feel like he'd be able to find those reports easier. Like,
I don't think anybody's worried about that timeline.
No, nobody's really worried. But that didn't hit me until now. But I'm thinking about it now, because one of the other things I wrote is that it suffers from being set in the 80s because we know the future of a lot of these characters. Yeah. Because of the fact that they've been in the present day in other media. So it's like, there's only so much tension that you can hold. Like, it's different for the first Wonder Woman movie because it's going over her origin, obviously. So that's different. But for characters like Steve Trevor, like, obviously, we know he's not around anymore. We know that nothing super serious is gonna happen to Diana. We know, like, it's not.
I think that
It feels almost undercut.
yeah, I feel you. I feel like if they didn't set it in the '80s, they wouldn't have made it as cheesy in a lot of ways because they wouldn't have even thought to because it would have been in the modern day and it wouldn't even cross their mind.
I feel like the reason they said it in the '80s was probably more of a visual style because you can definitely get a visual style in the
I like the
'80s.
way I like the way it looked.
Yeah, no, it was pretty. It was a pretty movie. Let's put it like it was a pretty movie.
I think the brighter colors suits like the Wonder Woman story. Like it made sense why it was darker and duller in the first movie because it took place in
World War II.
Wait, it was two?
Or World War One. I keep saying World War II. Was it World War?
Yeah, I thought it was World War
I've only seen that movie like twice. I didn't like it, so I don't really. I like it better than this one, but I don't really know because I've only seen it once.
I knew it was gonna happen because it low-key got a little bit spoiled for me in the trailer because I was like, it was in a TV spot because TV spots sometimes they show scenes that aren't in the other trailers, and it was quick. It was a super quick flash of her looking like she was flying, and I was like, oh, she's gonna fly in this movie. Yeah, finally, she's finally gonna fly. Which is, I'm trying to think of it's between that and the invisible jet scene that are my two favorite scenes in the movie. When she was finally learning to fly, that green screen was trash, but the moment was the moment. And
I swear to God, I could see. It's almost like I could see the strength. Like it was so obvious, and
but the moment and the emotion surrounding it was dope. Her swinging on the lightning. This first off, obviously, the a better part of the budget went to that specific scene because in that part, the green screen wasn't as bad. But her learning to fly was dope. The invisible jet and then flying through the fireworks was pretty cool. I like the little invisible jet reference that they made. That was cool. There were way too many slow moments. And like you said, after that, after the fight scene at the beginning and the flashback at the beginning, the first movie was about Barbara and it had nothing to do with Wonder Woman. The first 30 minutes felt like it wasn't even Wonder Woman's movie up until Steve came. And then when Steve came, you're like, okay, now it's Wonder Woman's movie.
And the moral implications of the, oh my God.
Oh, 100%. The moment I knew what the movie was about, that's weird. Like this whole movie is about, and they got that rule about, it's not a rule, but because of course not every movie can follow that or has to follow it. But the idea of having, a story with a woman's, a woman it isn't focused on a man. But this one was, and it was about him coming back and her missing him. Even though, and then I went back and watched the first one to get some implications. Like, she knew this man for a week or two. And I mean, I guess she was the first man she ever saw, and she wouldn't even know she was attracted to men until she met him. So yeah, I understand. He was probably the first. He might have been the first person she loved. That we don't know because in the comic she's bisexual. She's probably bisexual in the movie as well. So she might have had relationship with women on the island, but this was the first man she was ever with, and so the first man she loved. And I was like, but they didn't know each other that long. And when he died in the first movie, first off, I hate the end of that first movie. I just want to put that out there right now. I love everything except the end of that movie. The end of that movie.
I don't like the majority of that movie.
The end of that movie is garbage. I hated what they did with Ares. That's besides the point. We're talking about the second movie. So when he died, she barely was paying attention to it. It was, I don't know. Her relationship with Steve didn't feel so strong in the first movie to lead to what happens in this movie, and her being so, for the past 60 years, being sad and lonely because she misses this man that died that she barely knew. It was just weird. And also the part in it was like in the Middle East where they essentially
that felt so racist.
Yeah, where they basically just turned into bad guys for Wonder Woman to fight. And I was
that felt so incredibly racist for that whole scene.
It was so weird. Those two things made me go, okay, that's why. I get it. The 80s, that was a thing they did, but that doesn't mean you need to do it. It's not the 80s. It's 2020. Like,
it's not the 80s.
Now it's 2021. So come on.
Get with the times. Like, oh my God. That felt so incredibly racist, bro. Yeah. I don't even oh my God.
I low-key want Maxwell Lord to eventually get his psychic powers and become the Maxwell Lord. Like his son is killed by a metahuman. like his mother was in the comics. I guess spoiler alert, but we were already talking about the comics. But yeah, like his mother was killed in comics, and that causes him to become a bad guy again, and basically for him to become the version of Maxwell Lord we know. And you know, of course, like we said, Cheetah is probably gonna go along the path of becoming the Cheetah from the comics. Which, when I was looking up stuff about Cheetah for to talk about in this podcast, I realized that the origin that most people know from her is relatively new. Like, her go-to origin started in the New 52, which is wild, and I never knew that. I was like, oh, so you tell me this origin that everybody knows about Cheetah is still new? Cheetah herself as a character is, well, the version we know is still relatively new. Like, Cheetah as a character and her origin is newer than we think.
But I'm not a Wonder Woman fan regardless, so it doesn't really matter.
I am. It's
and
weird.
Like, Cheetah doesn't really show up in a lot of stuff that isn't Wonder Woman related, so it's just like I don't really care about most of these characters in this movie anyway.
Yeah, it's weird to say because this movie wasn't that good, that I'm a bigger Wonder Woman character, but because of this movie, I'm fan. But because of this movie, I'm a bigger Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman character.
Which is, I wish I was a Wonder Woman character. No, I don't. I would have probably be dead. But
yeah, I was gonna say you'd probably die.
But yeah. So
that reminds me real quick before we move on. Did you see the image from Zack Snyder's Justice League cut of Wonder Woman? Because you know the picture in Batman, is it Batman vs Superman, where Batman sees the picture of Wonder Woman with Steve Trevor and like a bunch of freedom fighters?
Yeah.
So Zack Snyder's version of the picture is Wonder Woman holding 3 severed heads with a bunch of soldiers behind her. And everyone in the comments is like, oh no, this is the superhero movie we wanted. Every single thing that comes out about the Snyder cut is just making me realize more and more he does not understand the characters he's writing about.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't. The more
at all.
Yeah, the more I, like, at first when I started signing, I was like, okay, this will be interesting. And then the more I see it, I'm like, especially with how long he's saying it's going to be, I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I don't think I will. I don't know. I might watch it.
I'm going to watch it.
I might watch it for the
purely because I'm curious.
If I'm being honest,
not expecting it to be good.
If it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't watch it. But I'm probably just going to watch it for the sake of talking about it on the podcast. Otherwise, I would ignore it because I don't care. But
yeah, no, it's
also
just like,
to mention that Chris Pine would make such a good Hal Jordan.
My thing is, I want to see, and I don't understand what I don't get why they keep casting older actors for younger roles, or why they keep making the characters older than they are. I want to see a superhero movie of Batman. I'm excited for the Batman. I want that to, like, the Batman is probably my most anticipated superhero movie coming up. Like, maybe of all the superhero movies that have been announced, is probably my most anticipated one. I want to see a Batman in his prime, not in his 40s, not in his 50s, not his origin where he's like just starting out. Now I want to see a prime Batman with that's maybe like Dick is Nightwing and like either Jason's Robin or he's dead and Tim Drake is just starting out as Robin. And I want to see like a Superman in his prime, not a Superman just starting. They haven't done an older Superman story on live action except for like CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he dies in like the next episode. So it's just like, what's the point? But I want to see it like it's just like I can't get. Why can't I get a superhero in their prime? Like,
yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like they keep either going origin or they're old, and I'm like, at this point, especially with characters like especially Batman, who we've seen 1,000 times. We've seen his origin. We know. Just give us a Batman movie that's good with a dope villain, and just him in his prime, like you said. And also, I get it. Batman and Robin and Batman Forever were bad. We get it. But we want Robin, goddammit.
Yes, thank you. All the Robins are so cool and have so much potential. Like,
we want Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, somebody. We want Robin, Batgirl, and whoever. Like, we need some sidekicks. We want some Batman sidekicks in live action.
And what's worse, I like what Matt Reeves is doing with Batman. It's not an origin. It's just him early in his career. It's like, 1.5 years into him being Batman? Like, it's early in his career. I like that. I'm excited to see that Batman evolve and stuff like that. But like, I don't understand what the point of almost every Batman either being super early or super late. Batman is nowhere near close to retiring in the comics. Every old Batman story is an Elseworld story. So it's like,
So
y'all want to see an old grizzled Batman so bad, but we haven't seen a comic accurate Batman yet. Like,
I heard a rumor this morning that there's gonna be two Batman like franchises going on.
oh, I saw that with Keaton as
Yeah,
one,
Keaton
and
has one, and Pattinson is one. And I think they're gonna do. You don't like it, but Batman
I
Beyond.
don't, because it's like it's an old Batman. Give me prime Batman. He's
Here's the
not
thing.
old in the comics. He's like mid to late 30s right now. Like,
They have,
what?
they have Pattinson, and I think
They have Pattinson.
Pattinson's gonna
And I
give.
think he's going to go down that route. I
Yeah,
think he's going to become, yeah.
I think Pattinson's gonna give us that prime Batman. But also, I was talking to this with someone on Discord the other day about how DC, and I hope they continue on this path that they stopped trying to catch up with Marvel and making like, which they tried to do super fast within like 5 years for some reason, and it clearly didn't work. They failed
At all.
instead of taking their time. But what I hope they do is continue on the path of like this Batman, even though I know that's going to be its own little mini Batman universe, and like what they did with the Joker, where these movies don't have to necessarily be connected. They could just be their own things. I wouldn't be mad if, like, first off, they're always afraid that people will be confused. Like, they always like, we don't want to have two Batman cartoons or two Batman movies at the same time because people are going to be confused if this is in the same universe or whatever. And it's like, not if you just tell us, because we have brains and know how to use them. If you just say,
Right.
hey, we're making this Batman movie that's going to be coming out in 2025, but this one is coming out in 2021, they aren't in the same universe. They're completely separate from each other. We'll go, okay, that's understandable. Oh, they're completely separate? You told me that.
Cool.
I understand what you
Yeah.
mean. We aren't idiots. So if they were to randomly get John Hamm and make a Batman movie for no reason, I wouldn't be mad. Like, if they just made another random Batman movie or Flash movie or Wonder Woman movie with some other actor, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. To me, it's very similar to most of, like, a lot of the best comic book stories aren't even like main timeline stories.
Yeah.
Like, they're just Elseworld stories, which I feel like DC should lean into and make more movies like the Joker, where it's not necessarily connected to anything else. Not only is it not connected to anything else, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a like action movie. Because I feel like
Batman,
comic
I
book
forget what it's called.
are put into a box where people feel like they can only be like either a serious action drama or an action comedy. And I'm like, they don't have to just be that. You could make a Batman movie that's just about him being a detective, and I wouldn't be mad at it. You could just make
That's what Robert Pattinson's movie's supposed to be.
You can
And
just
I'm
make
super excited for
a
that.
crime drama Batman movie, and I wouldn't be mad at all. It would feel like an episode of Batman the Animated Series for me. Like,
Now, one thing, and this is, I kind of forgot what I was saying, like mid thing. Oh, Batman, I forget what the movie's called, but this is something I'm super excited for, though I'm not happy that it's set in the 70s, because, like, anyway, they're doing a Batman movie, which is literally like a 60s, 70s animated martial arts movie with Richard Dragon, Batman, Bronze Tiger, and Lady Shiva trying to figure out who murdered their old sensei. And that's an Elseworld story that I'm down for, mainly because Lady Shiva, Batman, Richard Dragon, and Bronze Tiger are all like some of my favorite characters. But like, I'm excited for it. That's like something that DC should do more often. Like,
that makes me this is more on the Marvel side, but I'm kind of upset that they haven't made either in the show or a movie Iron Fist show that leans into that 70s martial arts movie trope. You know how good that could be if they just make a kind of like we were talking about Wonder Woman, lean into the corniness but in a good way that still makes for a good story. Because we both love martial arts and seen tons of like old 70s martial arts movies. I grew up with that because of my father and Wu-Tang.
yeah.
And
So my uncle, yeah.
And like, if they make an Iron Fist equivalent of that, it would be dope. I would love it.
I'd want it set in the modern day, though. I understand why they set the new Batman movie in the 70s, but I would want it set in the modern day. But like with those tropes and stuff like that would totally work. like the rumors for the Shang-Chi, at least the early ones before all the other rumors that I'm not a fan of started happening. It was like it's set in the modern day, but is very much the tone of a 70s martial arts movie, like a 70s hip hop martial arts movie. I'm like, that sounds awesome. But
that off top makes me think of Mortal Kombat, which I actually did want to talk about that. I kind of forgot, but
I'm just waiting for the trailer. They announced a release date. It's like April something.
Yeah, it comes out in like 3 months, and I'm like, bro.
And we haven't had set pictures. We've had casting announcements. It's it.
Because I feel like it will be better than the old ones, but I'm still afraid it won't be good enough because they haven't shown us anything. I feel like we're so close to the release, and they still haven't shown us.
It's like what we were talking about with Miles Morales, back when Miles Morales is about to drop.
Yeah, we were afraid because they weren't showing us anything. I was like, I don't know what's happening. But with this one, I hope it's the same way, that the movie still turns out to be really good, despite the fact they didn't show us anything. But like, they haven't shown us, like, I don't know, Jax's arms or anything like that. Like, I want to see what Jax looks like. First off.
Only seen the title card, and that's it.
Yeah, I told you before how I feel about the design of Jax's arms, and how I prefer the OG arms that are just kind of like circular patterns going around his arms. I prefer that design. I hope
like Winter Soldier arms.
Yeah, like pretty much exactly like Winter Soldier's arms in the first movie. I want them to do a design like that. I hope they do, because I'm not the biggest fan of the design that they use in MKX, where it looks like I don't know, like big hunks of metal. It looks like Iron Man armor, but bulkier. That's what it looks like.
I don't mind one way or another. I'm not a big Jax fan, but I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And we haven't seen them in costume, no set photos.
We've only had casting announcements and the title card. That's literally it for a movie that's coming out in 4 months.
It's weird.
So, like,
it's really weird. I'm so hopeful. I like Mortal Kombat, but I was just thinking about how a Mortal Kombat movie that leads into that 70 martial arts thing would also be, because I mean, Mortal Kombat has always
kind of like the first movie.
Yeah,
but the first movie was very 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the first movie. Honestly, the first movie, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies, but like it didn't take itself too seriously. It knew the concept, it knew how ridiculous it really was, so it leaned into it. So it's like a good bad movie. The second one took itself way too seriously.
Like fighting games honestly make for good movies, and I feel like people think that they don't, and then I'll just have to point them towards like all of these martial arts movies. And I'm like, have you not seen a martial arts movie in your life? You can make a movie based off Street Fighter, based off Mortal Kombat, based off Tekken, and it could be amazing. Like, first off, it doesn't even have to be the most amazing story, but if it is, that's even better. Because if you have a good writer, he can make it work, or they can make it work. Like,
yeah.
But out of the martial arts movies and comic book movies around, I want to go to video games, and I want to have a conversation about immersive sims, the genre of video games that I didn't know I loved. Do you know what an immersive sim is?
Probably an immersive simulation is what I'm thinking. That's what's coming to mind.
I mean, yeah, that's what it stands for. But like, do you know like what that genre is?
No, because I think of immersive sims, and I think of like flight sims and stuff, and I think of like Sims as how I think you're thinking about, and I think of these Sims, and I'm like, I'm not.
So
I don't get it.
I wasn't sure if you would know what it is. I'm glad that you don't, because it turns out both me and you love this genre of video game, and we never knew.
Okay.
And it's crazy how you can love a genre but not know that you love it.
Yeah.
An immersive sim, by definition, is a game that allows for multiple approaches. And this is a straight up Google copy paste definition, but I'm going to get more in detail later on. But by definition, is a game that allows for multiple approaches and typically incorporate elements of multiple genres. So it could be an RPG, a stealth, a first-person shooter, or a platform or survival horror.
Oh, I love those.
But if it still has that the idea of allowing for multiple approaches, then it's an immersive sim. So
I definitely like those.
So for example, well, before we get that, when it comes to sims, like you said simulation, but it actually stands for, I mean, you're right. It does stand for simulation, but I got my words confused because it's another word that starts with S that I'm not going to mention, but it is not simulation. But basically, it takes advantage of the use of systems, which systems in games are basically how everything works. systems are built with the intention of interacting with each other all the time. Like I said in the stealth game, if you're seen by an enemy and they run to sound an alarm, and the alarm sounds off, and then a bunch of enemies come to rush you. Or in Breath of the Wild, a system is like the fire system. Anything that's wood, you can set on fire, and you can set grass on fire too. But anything that's wood, no matter what it is, you can set it on fire. When it's raining, rocks get slippery. It's hard to climb. You have metal stuff on. You get struck by lightning. That type of stuff. Those are systems, and the way they all interact with each other in unique ways. Like I said, grass is flammable. So when lightning strikes grass, it gets set on fire. And essentially, that's how immersive sims work. It's a bunch of systems that interact with each other in unique ways, so that you can figure out how to approach any situation. And essentially, it was started by a studio called Looking Glass, who created 3 games that basically defined the genre and inspired a bunch of games afterwards. Which eventually I'm going to get to one game that is pretty much the game that is the reason why I say we both love this genre without knowing. Which there are several actual, but there's one in particular that we both love.
I'm already knowing what it is.
Yeah, I think you know what it is, but don't say it. We're gonna get there. So the 3 games that Looking Glass made are Ultima Underworld, Stygian Abyss, System Shock, and Thief. Thief, I know, is already cluing you in, but shh, don't say it. So basically, in '92, they made Ultima Underworld, which actually directly inspired the creation of the Elder Scrolls series. But it wasn't until the 4th game,
I did read that.
Yeah, it wasn't until the 4th game in the series that it actually became an immersive sim. But the actual creation of the series was inspired by Ultima Underworld. The second game is System Shock, was basically they bring a sci-fi approach to the genre by bringing it to space and making some of the enemies robots. And the last one is Thief, which is the one that I feel like heavily inspires the type of immersive sim games that I like, which is basically using advanced AI and open plan designs to basically, this was one of the first proper stealth games. Like this was made before stealth games were popular. And not even before they were popular, like you said, before they were even a thing. This is one of the very first. So basically, examples of modern immersive sims that they spawned were the combination of System Shock's gunplay and Thief stealth. Basically spawned Deus Ex, probably one of the most popular immersive sims.
I keep forgetting Deus Ex exists. I'm not even gonna lie.
The director of System Shock 2 went to create BioShock, one of the most popular immersive sims ever.
I love BioShock.
And our favorite so the lead designer of Deus Ex went on to create Dishonored. And Dishonored is an immersive sim. And I realize whenever we talk about video games and I describe what my favorite thing about a video game is, it's
always immersive sim.
All of the things that make an immersive sim. And there are 2 stealth games that both me and you love. One of them I like more than you, one you like more than me, which are Hitman and Metal Gear Solid, which both take a lot of cues from immersive sims. And by the way, Hitman is just straight up an immersive sim.
Hitman is like, it has a bit of everything.
Metal Gear, especially Metal Gear Solid 5, has tons of immersive sim elements in the sense that you get to choose how you tackle a situation. And the director of Deus Ex, I'm mad I didn't write his name. I'll look it up in a second. His name is Warren Spector.
That's a badass name.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because
that is like the coolest name ever.
Yeah. So I was watching a video. Who I watch, he makes tons of videos about the way games are made. The channel is called Game Maker's Toolkit, and
I'm subscribed to his channel. Yo, that's wild.
His name is Mark Brown. He made a video about immersive sims, and I was already looking up stuff about immersive sims. And whenever I look up something related to video games, the first place I go is to his channel. I type in the Game Maker's Toolkit and then whatever I'm looking for. And I found the immersive sim video. I watched it, and a person he quoted a lot because this person basically is like kind of like basically the best at it when it comes to making immersive sims. This is the dude that made Dishonored. Like he and Deus Ex. He basically was saying that they were designed to be about player expression, to basically give you power, to give you I can't even think of the word. I wrote it in here somewhere. Agency, to allow you to basically just figure things out on your own and deal with the consequences of the choices that you make. And that was his whole thing. He wanted to make games that allows players to basically do whatever they want and mold their own stories, make their own choices. It's something that can even be seen in Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, in a lot of ways, is also.
Oh yeah, Cyberpunk is most definitely an immersive sim. Like that's kind of like
it has tons of elements. It's a good example of like it can, like we said, it can exist in any genre of game, like an RPG. You can have immersive sim elements in an RPG. Same with Elder Scrolls.
As a matter of fact, most good RPGs, I think all my favorite RPGs would count as immersive sims.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah.
I don't know. It blew my mind when I was watching this video. It started when I was watching this video about the history of the video game Thief, which is which has the biggest impact on the way Dishonored plays. Dishonored is very much Thief, but with superpowers. That's essentially
it's basically Thief's spiritual successor.
Yeah, what Dishonored is. And I didn't realize how much this genre, which when I first saw it, because I'm not the biggest fan of Deus Ex, when I saw it, I was like, I thought it wasn't a genre that was for me until I realized I've been playing immersive sims my whole life and I didn't know it. And I love this genre. And the idea of systemic gameplay goes further than immersive sims. It even goes into games, like I said, Breath of the Wild, which is a game that me and you both talked about, like it might be the greatest open world game ever made. Because it takes advantage of systems and how they work together, allowing you to figure out how they work with other things and create unique interactions that not even the developers thought of. Sometimes in immersive sims, you can come up with situations that that didn't even cross the developers' minds, which is insane. I just want to mention right now, I don't want this podcast to go for too long. I'm kind of happy that I didn't have that much because I'm only going to have a day to edit it, and I don't want to edit a nearly 2-hour-long podcast. We're close to the hour mark.
Okay.
We're probably going to go for another 15 minutes, and then we'll be done. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to cut that all out, everything. That's a little conversation. But yeah, immersive sims are, I feel like my description of what an immersive sim is was a bit sloppy, but I hope people watching this, and even you, understood what I meant. Because I feel like
I totally get it.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't explain it very well. But if you want a more comprehensive explanation, go look up Game Maker's Toolkit Immersive Sims. You'll find it's short. It's like 13 minutes or something like that. Video about it might not even be that long. It might be like 9 minutes of him explaining a short little history, and then goes into the different types of immersive sims that we have today. And he describes exactly what makes an immersive sim an immersive sim. But yeah, like I said, it blew my mind. I wasn't aware that I was into this, that I was in immersive sim so much. And now I'm just like, I want more of it. And he made another video, I don't know if I watched it, about systems. And I think I did watch it. And I was just talking about how systems interacted with each other are what make Breath of the Wild so good. And he was talking about how most immersive sims don't become that popular. Like, as much as me and you love Dishonored, it doesn't sell very well.
Which sucks.
Which sucks really bad. Immersive sims in general don't sell very well. It's a very niche genre. But when you take certain elements from those immersive sims and put them into, let's say, Hitman or Metal Gear or Breath of the Wild, then that's when they start to really sell. And that's what I want to see. If it can't work in that specific genre, even though, of course, I want them to continue making Dishonored, and I think they will.
They better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be mad if they don't.
But even then, I want this idea of systemic gameplay to go further beyond, to keep, for games like Cyberpunk
Plus Ultra,
to keep being made. But yeah, off immersive sims, like I said, love them, want a lot more. I wanted to ask you, are there any type of figures, like 6-scale figures, that you've always wanted? Because off top, I have a few. I'm gonna say mine real quick. No, I was just talking.
Okay.
I was talking for a long time. You go ahead.
Okay. All right. Give me a second because I actually have it bookmarked.
Okay, so I'll tell you mine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So off top, I'm gonna just say one, and when you're ready, tell me because I'm gonna just start off with the ones that I want off top. I want 3 specific Darth Maul figures. One of them is the Phantom Menace 6-scale figure. I want both all of these are from Hot Toys. There's like season 7 Clone Wars, but like realistic version of Darth Maul, and then there is a what is it? What is a solo Darth Maul? I want those 3 Darth Mauls. I want all 3 of them. And
I've seen those.
I would sit them all next to each other in pretty much their most famous poses from each, like piece of content. Like Darth Maul when he's holding a lightsaber with his hand behind and stuff like that. I wanted some Darth Maul figures. If you found yours, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So my first one.
I should say this with like also like if money wasn't like if money didn't matter, what figures you would want.
Oh no, I don't care if money doesn't matter because I'm getting one of them. The other one I'm so sad about is sold out and has been sold out for the past 6 years, and I just found out about it 2 years ago. So that's the one I'm gonna go over first. Is the Ben Kenobi Mythos statue. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi. The best way I'm gonna describe it the best way I can. I might send you the link to it and see if you can put a picture up on it because it's kind of hard to describe. But it's Obi-Wan Kenobi with interchangeable heads. One has a younger Alec Guinness head. If you don't know who that is, he played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original trilogy. And then one is an older Ewan McGregor head with like graying hair. And it's him in his Jedi robes, a really tattered Jedi cloak with a hood, like a sleeveless Jedi cloak with a hood on it. But of course, he has sleeves on his Jedi robes. He's wearing fingerless gloves. He has goggles around his neck. He has a backpack. I'm looking at it right now because I'm trying like my best to describe it. He has a backpack. What'd you say?
I'm looking at it too. It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome, doesn't it? It is a backpack. It has a cycler rifle, which is basically a slug thrower. A slug thrower are basically like more advanced versions of our firearms, but like of course they're not as advanced as blasters, but they're more advanced versions of our firearms. And the cycler rifle is basically a sniper rifle. It's what like a 50 BMG would be in the Star Wars universe. And so there's a cycler rifle on his back. They're used by Tusken Raiders. He has a lot of Tusken Raider weapons on him. He has 2 different types of gaffy sticks from Tusken Raiders. He has, I think that's like a mini moisture evaporator on the side of his backpack, a sleeping roll attached to his backpack underneath it, and then he has Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber and Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber attached to the backpack, like hanging from the side, which is really cool because there was a fan theory, like a really popular fan theory a while back, because in Return of the Jedi, Luke, there's a cut scene from Return of the Jedi where Luke is basically making his second green lightsaber before he goes to Jabba and all that stuff. And he goes back to Ben Kenobi's hut on Tatooine. And so people were, like a lot of people were wondering for a lot of years, well, where'd he get the kyber crystal to make it? Because lightsabers are powered by a kyber crystal. And the color of the kyber crystal determines the color of the lightsaber. So a really popular fan theory was that Obi-Wan kept Qui-Gon's lightsaber all those years, and that Luke got it from Obi-Wan Kenobi's old hut on Tatooine and fashioned it after the notes that Obi-Wan Kenobi left. Now, if the statue were to be taken into canon, that would be true. And that's like the coolest thing to me. He also, of course, has Anakin's lightsaber on him because, of course, he said Anakin would have always wanted Luke to have his lightsaber. So he's Anakin's lightsaber, and he also has his own lightsaber that you can like put in his hand and everything. It's literally like it's probably the coolest statue I've ever seen ever. I love it, and it was like $400. I would have, without a doubt, have bought that statue, but it's completely sold out. And I plan to like track down someone that has this statue one day and buy it from them. But like, oh my god, I'm so mad that it's sold out. Like, there's nowhere to buy it now unless you find somebody that has it. And the other one is Big Bad from the Big Bad Toy Store. It's by Hot Toys, and it hasn't come out yet. I don't know when it comes out. I think it comes out March maybe, but it is Miles Morales from Spider-Man Miles Morales. And it's posable. It has a bunch of different costumes. You can put the backpack with Spider-Cat in it. On him, you can put on the winter outfit where he has like the little ankle warmers, the scarf, the hat, the ear warmers. His regular outfit also has like a bunch of little venom attachments. It looks really cool, and I really want this figure too. And it's probably going to be very expensive. It also has a bunch of different heads and hands that you can change. I definitely plan to get this. Like I'm 100% planning on getting this statue. I don't know how much it's gonna cost, but I'm gonna get it. So yeah, it's great. So I'm
Yeah.
actually very glad you asked about that because I've never talked about like the 6 scale figures that I want, and
So
I'm really happy I actually got the chance to talk about that.
for
So
me, some of them are figures that I hope are made in the future, and some of them are ones that obviously exist. So off top, the next one I want, like how I said, I wanted those 3 different versions of Darth Maul. I also want 4 different Ahsoka figures, and or at least 3. So far there's only one, and they're making a new one, which is most likely going to be the Mandalorian version of Ahsoka.
hmm.
So there's one Hot Toys season 7 Ahsoka that's out there that has like when Hot Toys makes um, Clone Wars version characters, they do the like realistic version so that it looks right if you sit it next to other Hot Toys
Hmm.
Star Wars figures. So that one is already, it exists. I will want that, and also the new one that's about to come out. That's most likely going to be Rosario Dawson. And the one other one, or maybe 2, is the one from when she started out in Clone Wars, and her second costume in Clone Wars. Well, yeah, her second costume in Clone Wars, and her her in her costume from Rebels. I would want those 4 Ahsoka
Hmm.
figures. 2 of them don't exist. One of them is about to come out, and one of them is already out. And after that, there's a life-size Darth Vader. I want it.
A life-size Darth Vader.
I'm sure you've seen it 1,000 times before, but you know
I
that
probably have.
there's a life-size Darth
Actually,
Vader. I want the life-size Darth Vader.
that reminds me. Back before, like way before Disney bought Lucasfilm, do you know what Skywalker Ranch is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I went to Skywalker Ranch when I was a really little kid. And I got to stand next to the actual Darth Vader suit that they used in the movies. I have like 3 or 4 pictures of that. My mom has them somewhere. And I also got to take a picture next to the original Boba Fett costume. Those are like the coolest moments of my life. So when you said life size, that's immediately what my mind went to, was seeing Darth Vader right there.
Yeah, the
I'm
life.
not gonna lie, when I was a kid, I remember being like a little bit scared about like standing next to Darth Vader, but
I'm looking at
it
the
was
price
awesome.
of the Darth Vader life size. Actually, it's expensive. It's 8,900.
That
Um,
doesn't surprise me at all.
yeah, but yeah, it. I want it. I want to have a life size. First off, I don't want to own a bunch of figures. I just want to own a bunch of like a few really nice ones that are connected to some of my favorite things. So,
Same here.
like I said, my favorite Star Wars characters are Ahsoka, Maul, and Anakin. I also want 2 Anakin figures, one from the prequels, and then him in the arm. There's a version that they have of him in the armor from the beginning of Clone Wars. I would want those 2, and then the life size Darth Vader, and maybe a 6 scale Darth Vader to go with the other 2 Anakins.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I would want. I also the Miles Morales one also was it wasn't on my list in my notes, but it was one that was always just on my mind. Like I think I want that.
But you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, like that thing, it looks awesome. Like it looks so awesome.
Yeah,
But also, it
that's
reminds me.
one. I just want to say real quick.
Go ahead.
I also want a Xenomorph figure because I like aliens. This is one of my favorite movie franchises. Um, not like there are life size versions, but I don't want one of those. I want a
Oh
small,
no,
the 6 scale one. That would be
a
crazy.
life-size alien figure, that would freak me out. No, I would not want that. I would not want that at all. Um, but that reminds me, there is a company, I don't remember what the company is called, and it's starting to make me mad that I don't remember what it's called. But they have some really cool like DC figures. You know, I love Black Canary, I love Nightwing, and I love Batman. They're super expensive, like $400. But they have, so I'm probably not going to get them because like out of my list of like $400 statues that I want, they're not in there. But there are some really cool ones. They have one where it's like Batman from Batman Hush, and you can take off, you can change the head so it's not he doesn't have the cowl on, so it's like just Bruce Wayne, and he has like a bunch of different hands, and like one of them has like two or not. I think maybe like 3 batarangs in between his fingers, and on the other hand, you could put his grappling gun in there. I'm like, yo, that's like the coolest thing ever. And they have something similar for Nightwing, and they have just like a regular statue for Black Canary, but like I would want those too. Those are really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, 6-scale figures are just so cool. I like them.
They're awesome.
They're great. I don't know if we'll get into this, but maybe talk about it for a short amount of time. But I wanted to introduce a new segment that I want to call Untapped Potential. About like something that has the potential to be great, but had the potential to be great, but it wasn't. And I feel like we kind of started that when we talked about DMC Devil May Cry, like an episode or two ago. I feel like we kind of started there. And I want to talk about Pokken Tournament, the Pokemon fighting game.
I forgot that existed.
I feel like is super untapped potential for several reasons. I feel like not only could it have been a better game, but it also could have low-key gone into other games in the sense that I think that a Pokemon game, just a regular Pokemon game where you go around, it's open world, you know how Pokemon works, and you go around, collect Pokemon, fight Pokemon. But when you go into the battle state, when you're about to fight a Pokemon that you find, it turns into Pokken Tournament, and you fight it like a fighting. Like, not just like a fighting game, but also with elements of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Because like I said, I've been getting into that game a lot more recently, and like I told you, I hate turn-based, but Final Fantasy VII Remake does it in a smart way, where basically...
I still don't like that turn-based combat.
The more you attack, the more a gauge builds up, and then you press either R1 or X, and time slows down, like really slow. It looks really cool, and it surprises me sometimes that my PlayStation can render it. My PS4 specifically. My base model PS4, I should be specific, can run this game. Sometimes it baffles me. But yeah, and time slows down, and then you choose. Basically, it's like a turn-based menu. You go through your attacks and you choose one. You can do that, and you can kind of make little combos. Like if you're playing with Tifa, she's basically a fighting game character in an RPG. I swear. If you like, it was weird. I didn't notice it. Like she does an uppercut, but if you use this other move, that's basically a dive kick, while she's in the middle of the uppercut animation, she'll go from right there. She won't hit the ground, then jump up and do the dive kick. She'll dive kick from right there. And it's dope. But yeah, basically that combat system, but in a regular Pokemon game. Because me, you talk about how that's probably the one RPG that we both said, like, we could play it longer than most.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like,
because I know you play tons of RPGs, but turn-based RPGs specifically. But,
yeah, no, I love RPGs that aren't turn-based. Like, typical RPGs I love. Turn-based RPGs I can't.
But after a while, even with Pokemon, I still get tired of it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I typically get tired of Pokemon when I get to like the Elite Four and then they start beating me, and I'm just like, I don't feel like figuring out the strategies to beat them. I think like the only 2 Elite Fours that I've actually beat are the ones from X and Y and the one from Black and White, because I was just like, I was too invested in the Pokemon that I had, and I was like, no, I gotta win. But like other than that, I was like, bro, I don't feel like figuring out the strategy to actually beat these guys and maintain my Pokemon. Like, no, come on, just let me go.
Yeah, for me, the first Pokemon game was Emerald, and I stopped when I think I fought 2 of the Elite Four, or maybe 3, and then I went to try and get Rayquaza, the legendary Pokemon in that game. He's my favorite Pokemon too, by the way. And I went to try and get Rayquaza. Yeah, I just gave up on trying to get Rayquaza. He's also literally the strongest Pokemon to ever exist in Pokemon. Like in every,
I got Mewtwo in X and Y after I beat the Elite Four. And that was, like, the biggest surprise to me. Like, my little, like, 11-year-old brain was, like, dying off of dopamine because I was like, Mewtwo! I can get Mewtwo! It was, oh, my God. It took me, like, 1 try, and I was freaking out the entire time.
Yeah.
I think if I go back on X and Y, he's probably still part of my team. Like, I love Mewtwo.
But, yeah, that segment's kind of short. But, yeah, I want to talk about more things that I think, like, could have been great, but weren't. And speaking of that, I wanted to save this for last because I wasn't sure if we are going to get to it, but we're going to talk about Batman, the animated series, and the comics.
We're still going to talk about audiobooks too, but we'll go with this.
Yeah. But we were talking about it a little bit through text about you not being the biggest fan of the Batman animated series because of the way it ended. And
not just the way it ended.
What they did to Tim Drake.
Not just the way it ended.
But yeah, go ahead. Explain yourself.
Okay. So it's the way it ended. I'm not a big fan of. I feel like I'm not the only person that says that though, because like a lot of people don't like the way it ended. Like Joker trying to turn Tim Drake into the Joker was kind of like stupid. Like I really didn't like that. I'm also not a big Batman Beyond fan, either in the comics or the TV show. Like I didn't like either of them. Um, Give me a sec. Also, the mistreatment of Tim Drake. And I go off on this. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on podcast, but I talk to you about this a lot off podcast, off stream. DC hates Tim Drake so much. And he's literally my favorite DC character. So I'm like, stop treating him horribly. Tim Drake has never gotten a good animated adaptation. Even in Young Justice, he still doesn't have, it's still not his, he's better in Young Justice than anything else, but it's still not good. It's still not a good adaptation of Tim Drake. And he's also pushed to the side. Like, not even pushed to the side. He's like a tertiary character. And I'm like, come on now, what? And so, but in Batman the Animated Series, he was a mix of Jason Todd and Tim Drake. He wasn't even really Tim Drake.
For me, like, essentially, I understand why you don't like it, and I feel like it stems from the fact that he's always mistreated. Like, if there were other good examples of him in animated series that were fantastic, then, like, let's say if there were 2 other shows he were in, and he was, like, the greatest character in that show. If he was bad in this, if he was different, because I don't even think he's bad in these shows, he's just very different, and like you said, not treated the way he should be, and he's not treated as, like in Batman the Animated Series, he just really isn't, he isn't Tim Drake. He's, like you said, a combination of Jason Todd and Tim Drake, and that's basically...
I wouldn't even say he's a combination, because literally the more I think about it, he's just Jason Todd in a Tim Drake skin with the Tim Drake name. Like, he's not even really Tim. Like,
my personal opinion, that 100% they should have just named him Jason Todd. He should.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, bro, what?
He should have.
And like the reason behind why they didn't is kind of stupid too, because they were like, oh, if we name him Jason Todd, then we know he's gonna have to get killed, and that's a little dark for a kid's show. But then they wind up including Red Hood in the comics, and the adventure continues. So I'm like,
the thing about that also being a little dark for a kid's show is that then years later they made a movie where he gets electrocuted.
Yes, you literally see him break.
Yeah, and then he murders the Joker. And then I'm like, what? Yeah. Oh, that's too dark for a kid's show, huh? Like, that might as well have been Jason Todd. Like, I understand your problem with it, but to me it's just like, he should have just had a different name. Otherwise, I don't mind it. Like, that whole storyline of him being turned into, like, a mini Joker and then killing the Joker, and then, like, the Joker somehow being a genius and managing to turn Tim Drake, well, basically Jason Todd, into himself again was odd. But, you know, a lot of people love that movie. Like, people, like,
I don't understand.
I like it. I was actually going to watch it before this podcast, but I didn't have enough time. But yeah, I also like that movie. I'm going to watch it again at some point this week. But I understand why you're not a fan of it, because they essentially just don't give Tim Drake his just dues.
They never do, ever. I'm like,
also,
even in the comics right now is probably the worst offense ever. They made Tim Robin again, which I'm already not a fan of, because Tim never wanted to be anything but Robin, but when he became Red Robin back in 2009, it felt like the natural evolution of his character, and it was like he was forced to grow up when he didn't want to, and I was fine with that. That was awesome. That was like great character development right there. So they made him Robin again, which I'm already not a fan of. Now he's like 16, 17, pushing 18, and they're drawing him younger than Damian, and he acts like he's 12. And I'm like, he's like one of the most mature members of the Bat family. He's supposed to be like the most like Bruce out of everybody, but he's acting like a literal child, and he's drawn younger than Damian. And I'm like, why? What?
His Robin comic by Chuck Dixon has one of the coolest covers I've ever seen in my life.
Where it's him and he has the cloak and he's covering Batman's in the background. Yeah,
and Batman's just has his arm crossed in the background. It is one of the coolest comic book covers I've ever seen.
Chuck Dixon knows the Bat family. I don't understand. Is Chuck Dixon dead? I'm pretty sure he's still alive. He needs to come back to DC. Like, desperately.
Other than that, though, I think that like I said, I've been rewatching it recently. That show is fantastic, and when you it's so good that episodes feel longer than they are. Like the episodes are
Not
all
gonna
like
say that
25
I
minutes.
don't like it.
They're all like 25 minutes, but sometimes they could feel 45 minutes long because you feel like you're just watching a movie. They're so good.
I'm not gonna say I don't like it because I do like the show. I am a fan of the show. I have like most of the show on DVD. Like I do like the show. It's just there are a lot of elements in the show that I don't like and I'm not a fan of. And then a lot of episodes, especially in like the first series, because Batman the Animated Series, the one with Tim Drake is Batman The Adventure Continues or something like or
New Adventures of Batman.
yeah, The New Adventures of Batman. Also, Bruce Timm kept trying to push like a relationship between Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne, and that was just like really gross. And then it wound up happening in the comics. We're not going to talk about like the Batman the Animated Series comics. That we're not going to talk about.
That is the worst part of that entire universe. I hated it.
Bruce Timm just is really like he's really insistent on a lot.
I hated it, and I was watching a video earlier, which I'm gonna shout out this channel because they're dope. But this one person was kind of weird about it. But he was basically the channel was Watchtower Database, and
I watch him all the time.
Yeah, I was going to have to keep up with the most recent Batman: The Adventures Continue comic that is based in that universe, bringing in Jason Todd, which was unnecessary, by the way, because like you said, Tim Drake is basically Jason Todd, and they basically literally, it's horrible. I'm not even gonna talk about that, but essentially he started talking about the Barbara and Bruce relationship, and he was talking about how the people who wrote Ty Templeton and Dan Slott did a 17-issue run in Batman, the Batman Adventures comic, in like the early 2000s, and he was saying that he felt like Ty Templeton and Dan Slott would have done a better job of writing, or not even them. It was someone else who guest wrote on the story who he thought could do a better job of writing Batman and Barbara's relationship. And I was like, I was like, the only way somebody could do a better job at that is by not doing it at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only better job is just don't do it at all. Like,
and he was so insistent upon it. And I was like, no, bro. He was saying like he doesn't think it's weird as people think it. I was like, no, man, it's weird.
Yeah, no, he basically helped raise her. She's his best friend's daughter. They basically have a parental relationship. Like, yeah, no, that's
her uncle. That which makes it doubly weird. It's weird, and the whole thing with Nightwing and in the middle of all that makes it even weirder.
Yeah, it's your son's girlfriend who he's in love, like, bro.
Yeah, but I love Nightwing's design in that show. Like, I don't really. I
don't like it. The long hair, the mullet. I hate it.
I like the mullet. I like the mullet.
I hate the mullet.
I like Nightwing more mullet. I love that universe. Besides, like I said, that is my least favorite part of that universe. But you said yourself you like I
like the Justice League side of the universe. I don't like the Batman side of the universe as much. Like, there's still stuff I love about it, but there's just like a lot that I'm not a fan of. Ironically, and this is something I read online, I have no idea if it's true or not, but most of what people love about Batman the Animated Series that they give Bruce Timm credit for, or about like that whole universe that they give Bruce Timm credit for, actually wasn't made or written by Bruce Timm. Bruce Timm actually didn't do all that much for it, but it's like this one guy. It was like this one black guy. I don't remember what his name is, but it's like he was the person responsible for like 90% of what people love about that universe. And I'm like, that's like the coolest thing ever. And it makes so much more sense that every time Bruce Timm is full creative control, he always does something ridiculously weird, like Harley Quinn basically like being predatory on Nightwing, or Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne having a relationship. Like Bruce Timm always makes the weirdest stuff happen whenever he has creative control. And that makes more sense to me now.
Was it Dwayne Duffy? Dwayne McDuffie?
Yes, Dwayne Duffy, yes.
We talked about that in episode 6.
We did talk about that.
Dwayne McDuffie wrote on a lot of the DC cartoons, especially Justice League and Batman. And of course that is shot because he created that character. Yeah. And he wrote on Ben 10, he wrote on Young Justice, he wrote on a lot of the most popular and good and famous animated DC cartoons. Dwayne McDuffie is a big part of that that universe and just how good it is. Also, Paul Dini, of course.
Paul Dini too, yeah,
is a big part of.
They are the, and there are both of them are more responsible.
There are a bunch of other writers and directors on that show. Like Bruce Timm isn't like, he may have started it, but he isn't the end all be all for that universe.
He's also not the best one on that team. Honestly, I could argue for him being like the worst thing to happen to, like, he started it, but like he's not good. Like it's not like.
It's like what's her name that made Harry Potter? J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling, like, but that's the thing though. J.K. Rowling does obviously make Harry Potter good, and she is she's the sole writer for most of that. But that's like Bruce Timm getting credit for all that stuff when he's not the person that makes the majority of the stuff that people love about it. You know what I mean? Like that. There's the difference in that. And it's just like, go ahead though.
No, I'm just saying, I love there's not much I dislike about the Batman shows. I like most of it, other than that barber stuff. It's weird to me, but
so weird.
I also love Justice League. I want to watch Superman, but it's not on HBO yet. So
I love Superman the animated series. Now that is a great show. I don't have any hate against it.
I want more serious in that universe. I want Wonder Woman. We talked about the Green Arrow Black Canary show 1,000 times.
I feel like if they retcon Batman Beyond to being like a possible future and like cut out like the end of that timeline, I would actually have a lot more fun with it, because it's like I was talking about with Wonder Woman, there's only so much that you can enjoy about a certain segment when you know the future of where it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
And so if they were to cut out the end of that series, I would have a whole lot more fun with it.
I just like you said, that could easily be retconned because it's so far in the future. It could easily just go, like you said, that's just a potential future. It doesn't have to be the definitive future. And that would be an easy way to retcon tons of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just want to talk about that. The Adventures Continue. Jason Todd was such an unnecessary addition to the universe. He didn't need to be there. We basically already had Jason Todd in their version of Tim Drake. Plus, this story is just bad. And I'm upset to say that Ty Templeton even works on it, because his 17-issue run with Dan Slott and a few other writers on the Batman Adventures, which I'm gonna read when I get a tablet, is they're good. People enjoy them. But he's only an artist on this. He doesn't write, but Paul Dini does. And Paul Dini, even though we were just praising him, he makes some mistakes in this. It was him and someone else. I can't remember their name, but he makes tons of mistakes in this. And essentially, it's a bunch of continuity problems, not even in the greater DCAU, but even within this specific story itself, they can't follow their own continuity of what's happening. And it's so weird. He was such a, I feel like there was a way to include him that could have worked, but at the same time, he didn't need to be there. Like, Deathstroke's a cool addition. His design is dope. The way they went about it was horrible. It saddens me, because I still stand by the fact that the title is a good name for like a sequel series, like Batman: The
Adventure Continue. That's just
yeah. I think that's what we end off today. We're getting close to like an hour 30. Even though I wanted to stop at an hour, I felt like I needed to talk about Batman and the DCAU, because I love that universe and wanted to continue. I actually, quickly before we end, I forgot to mention this at the top of the show, but I watched Justice League and the Fatal Five, which is I don't know if it takes place within the timeline of the DCAU, but it's in that art style. Bruce Timm is a producer on it, and basically the main character is Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, Limelight. And the other Justice League members in that are, of course, the Trinity, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, but also Mr. Terrific, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. Which the whole time I thought the voice actor was Keith David, who voices Spawn, but it wasn't. It was Kevin Michael Richardson, who voices a lot of characters, for me to even try to choose just one that he's famous for. But it was decent. It wasn't that good, but as I was watching, I was like, if this was an episode of like a sequel series to Justice League Unlimited, it would be fantastic. Like, it would work really well as, like, in the original Justice League the animated series before Unlimited, every other episode, like every other few episodes was at least 2 to 3 episode arc. So I feel like this would have been a good, because it was like an hour 17, it would have been a good 3-4 episode arc. And if this was a couple episodes of a show, I'd love it. But as a movie, it was all right.
You reminded me, though, when you mentioned Mr. Terrific, you kind of reminded me. and this is a conversation I have with a bunch of friends. This might take just a little bit more time, but I feel like this would be an interesting thing to hear about on the podcast. I really want to hear your opinion on it. I want you to create a Justice League with 7 core members, 4 reserve members, and your reasons as to why. And I already have mine. I've made mine a while ago, like maybe a couple weeks ago.
Off top, I'm going to go the original 7 and then just choose some random core members. So, no, off top, I want to go basically the cast of Justice League Unlimited and Justice League Anime Series because that's what I know. That's what I know. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Wally West, Flash, Hawkwoman, John Stewart, Green Lantern, and
that is so boring. All right, hang on. Let me find my notes. That's so
Martian Manhunter. And you said 4 reserve. 4
reserve, yeah, 4 reserve members.
Green Arrow, Aquaman, Mr. Terrific, and Plastic Man.
Okay, so yours is boring. Well, I'll go with mine. So
I admit it. It's a lot of just famous characters that people know already, right. Except for Plastic Man and Mr. Terrific, which I think they both need more.
All right. Okay. So
do you want me to make one that specifically like excludes like main 7 members from either the animated series or the comics?
No, you don't have to, because mine definitely has Wally West as a team member, and it has Bruce Wayne as Batman as a reserve member. But okay. Let me go with my. Actually, it also has Hal as Green Lantern and Barry as Flash, both as reserve members. Let me go through mine though. Okay, so I have Mr. Terrific as the leader of the team, also the funding of the team, also the brains of the team. Black Canary as co-leader of the team because she's had experience leading the Justice League in the past. And like one of the many martial arts experts not many, one of the 3 martial arts experts on the team. Wally West as the speedster of the team, who would also serve as like one of the few heart, like the core like heart of the team. You know what I mean? What gives the team heart. Jessica Cruz as Green Lantern, who also gives the team heart, and she's just needed a lot more. Jessica Cruz is awesome. Artemis Grace, so like Red Hood and the Outlaws Artemis. Would serve as the Amazonian of the team, also one of the martial arts experts. I have Connor Hawk on the team because Justice League needs a Green Lantern, or not Green Lantern, a Green Arrow. Yeah. And honestly, I love Ollie, but like Connor Hawk is so underused, and I'm mad that he hasn't been brought back into canon because he was like one of the coolest parts about the DC universe. He would be like the level-headed member of the team, also one of the martial arts experts. And then John Constantine as the magic expert on the team. And he would serve as like the team's wild card. My reserve members, I already told you 3. The other reserve member would be Tim Fox Batman, which is the Batman from DC Future State. Yeah. And yeah.
Talk to you about that.
Oh, DC Future State apparently has started. So as soon as I finish the Light of the Jedi audiobook, which is going to take me a couple of days, I'm hunkering down on my Future State. Because you already know I'm very excited for Future State. So yeah,
I'm going to check it out too.
So yeah, that's my Justice League. Your Justice League is all boring and the same that we've always seen.
Hey, that's my Justice League. That's the Justice League I know and love.
Test.
I feel like we recently, it's crazy because in the like Rebirth, they started to change the roster of the main Justice League basically into the animated universe Justice League. Like Hawkwoman was introduced. I mean, I guess her name is Hawk Girl, which is because there's also they changed her name a couple times, but I still call her Hawkwoman. But they added her to the Justice League, and then they added John Stewart, and I don't know if they added Martian Manhunter.
Manhunter was on the team, yeah.
You said what?
Manhunter was on the team.
Yeah, because like they basically just completely changed the roster and turned it into the animated universe roster, which was dope. And Cyborg was off with Starfire, Azrael, and Jessica Cruz, which was a dope team of characters that I would have never thought of, except for of course Starfire and Cyborg working together is always dope. But they're finally, and with this whole Dark Knight's Metal, even though it's super weird, Wonder Woman's probably the dopest part of Death Metal.
I think my favorite part of Death Metal is Batman uploading his brain into a cyborg, or not cyborg, into the dinosaur in the Batcave. That's probably my favorite part because I hate DC Metal, but that's just so ridiculous. It's so funny.
I don't like it either, but essentially, you know, they're rebooting again, but like, finally, for the love of everything, finally, Cyborg is a part of the Titans. Again, he's finally a part of the Titans. Because for the longest time, me and you both talk about how he just doesn't fit with the Justice League. And like they kept like they changed his origin basically to where he joins the Justice League off top and he was never a Titan. But now they're finally making it to where he's a Titan. Basically in like the last issue of Teen Titans before, you know, the new one starts after Future State. The old Titans, Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, what is it, like Donna Troy, you know, and all of them came with Cyborg, and we're talking to the old Teen Titans because the old Teen Titans, whatever was going on with them, and we're telling them how they were going to train them up to make them better Titans. And I was like, finally, Cyborg's a part of the Titans again. He's needed to be there for a long time. But Justice League Odyssey is dope. I like that cast of characters. Like you said, Jessica Cruz Limelight is dope. I like her. There's too many human Green Lanterns. They just keep fighting new ones.
I don't think there's too many human ones. There's only like 6 human ones. Like, I feel like I saw somebody make a post which is really interesting about where they want the DC universe to go after Future State. And basically the only Green Lanterns on Earth were Guy Gardner and Jessica Cruz. All the other human Green Lanterns were like off doing stuff. And obviously they would all come to Earth from time to time doing stuff, but they all had like separate roles for the Green Lantern Corps itself rather than as like Earth-based heroes. Like Hal Jordan was on like somewhat of like a redemptive quest still from being paralyzed. So I wasn't agreeing with like he's proven himself.
That was so long ago. He proved himself a long time ago. He doesn't need to redeem.
He doesn't need it anymore. Yeah, he doesn't need to reprove himself. John Stewart was like the leader of, I forget what. There's like almost like a Black Ops sect of the Green Lantern Corps. I forget what they're called, but he was like the leader of that as like their general. Guy Gardner was one of the Earth Green Lanterns. Jessica Cruz was one of the Earth Green Lanterns. Kyle Rayner became the next Ion, like he was a while ago in the comics. And the Ion's basically like if Captain America was like a super soldier to regular soldiers, Ion was a super soldier to the Green Lanterns, basically. And he was Ion before for like a 6-issue miniseries. That was really cool. I love that series. But he would be Ion again. I forget. Simon Baz. I was blanking on the last human Green Lantern. That was bad. Simon Baz, because this is something they tried to do in the beginning of the New 52. Simon Baz would basically be like the messiah of the Green Lantern and basically be writing the new journal of the Guardians or whatever it's called. He'd basically be writing that because that's already proven time and time again that it can't be trusted. But because he would serve as the messiah, he would be basically rewriting it. And that was really cool. I really like that idea. I wasn't a fan of Hal being on a redemptive quest anymore. Like, just have him be out in the galaxy, like doing whatever. But,
you know, I want people to see just how cool the Green Lanterns are. Because that movie really left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I'm just like, man, Green Lanterns are cool. Especially, like, even though my favorite is Jon Stewart because of the animated series. I like the version of Hal that isn't on a redemptive arc, that has proven himself and is known as like one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful.
He is the most powerful.
Yeah, and famous. Like he's basically like I know you just used the Captain America comparison in terms of super soldier, but he's like Captain America, the one that people look towards. He's this strong, powerful leader in the Green Lantern Corps. That's the version of Jon Stewart.
I don't remember if like the Guardians either took away his ring or his ring got destroyed or something, but he literally reforged his ring himself out of pure willpower. Like he was just like, no, I want a ring. Bing. Like
that actually also happened in Justice League and a Fatal 5. Jessica Cruz.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, I guess spoiler alert. But
I'm not gonna watch the movie, so
no, it's just for other people. But she was beaten, she got her ring destroyed, and basically she said the chant and basically through willpower bring it back together. And then
that's cool.
I went to go save everyone else. But yeah, I'm excited for the show to see what they do. And I like how the show isn't focusing on the big three that everybody knows. And it's instead going to be Simon Baz, Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz.
I'm not a fan of that. I'd be more a fan of that if that was like in the later seasons they focused on them more. I just want, like I was talking about earlier, Hal Jordan in his prime, not an old man Hal Jordan, not a parallax
No,
Hal Jordan. I want a
for
Hal
me,
Jordan in his prime.
I don't mind if
Like,
you tell Jordan from the beginning because, because no, not enough people have seen his origin story.
I
Like,
wouldn't mind if they did him from the beginning. But like with
that's
what
what
they're talking about,
I think that's what the movies are going to be for. It's going to be for Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, and
uh, I keep forgetting they're also doing movies. I keep forgetting they're also doing movies.
if they'll be connected, who knows? But I just know that the movie's definitely going to have John, most likely because they're not going to be in the show, is most likely going to have those three characters as lead characters. So if that's the case, it might start off with Hal being, in his prime. If they're going to have both Jon Stewart and I hate when this happens. It happens every episode. I forget people's names.
You forget people's name, Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, you literally just said it and I forgot it.
No, I just expect this to happen at this point. I just try to keep a better memory of who I'm talking about because I'm like, he's gonna forget it.
I've also talked before how I want a Green Lantern video game that takes place in space. And it's
that would be awesome.
And you fly
I
around.
want something
like No Man's Sky,
like a mix
but with Green
of
Lanterns.
Oh, go ahead.
I said No Man's Sky, but with Green Lanterns.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a mix of like No Man's Sky and like I know a lot of people don't like the Avengers game, but like an Avengers style game, but like No Man's Sky, where like you take control of one of the human Green Lanterns and like your friends take control of, like the other ones. You go on like missions in space, but it would have to be like as big as No Man's Sky. Yeah. Like No Man's Sky, comparative to other games, like comparative to like Modern Warfare, which takes like your entire system storage. No Man's Sky is only, I don't know how many gigabytes it is actually, but like it's really small. But like you play the game, you're like, my system should not be able to support this game. Like this game is way too huge. There's no way, like no system should be able to support this game. But like, yeah, and you've played No Man's Sky, right?
No, I've seen gameplay. It doesn't interest me. But
you should totally play. It didn't interest me either, but it like I put so many hours into that. Like I was addicted to that game for a while. Like when I said there's like 3 or 4 planets per solar system, but like there's a bunch of different solar systems in like one galaxy. I think there are multiple galaxies as well. So it's like it's it's amazing. I love it.
Apparently the like initial download is like 11 gigabytes, but of course you're gonna have updates that are gonna increase that. But yeah, it's kind of it's pretty small for how expansive it is. But yeah, I could see a really good Green Lantern game that takes place in like a small space with like multiple planets. It doesn't need to be infinite like No Man's Sky, but it just needs a few planets that you can travel between, and you could like. Yeah. I want there to be like for when you have to go further. There's that the ship from the animated series where you basically get in that and you can go further than you normally would with just you and your ring flying around. And of course you would have to recharge your ring. Otherwise, you're going to be out there and you're going to die. You'll just be in the middle of space, and your ring will die, and you'll die.
But what I want certain Green Lanterns to have different powers. So I would want Ion. I would want Kyle Rayner to be Ion, either be Ion or be a White Lantern, where he wouldn't need to recharge his ring at all because his Ion he didn't have a ring. He was using the heart fire, whatever it's called. Where he was like Alan Scott, he didn't need a ring at all. And that's what Ion is. Ion doesn't need a ring to use the power at all. He doesn't need to recharge. And in fact, I think it was during the Sinestro Corps War, he was recharging other lanterns for them. Like he was just flying past like bing, 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 bing. Kind of like Naruto during the Great Ninja War, or he was just like giving everybody his chakra. Like that's exactly what he was doing. He's like touch, 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 touch. And I would want Hal Jordan
level increase.
Oh, go ahead.
I said when Naruto's chakra level increased drastically out of nowhere. Like
yes, basically, yeah.
How pretty much Guy actually got way stronger out of nowhere too.
Yeah, the guy was literally like.
We're not going to go on another Naruto tangent. Let's not do that. Okay. But I just want to say, I don't think, at least not, especially not in the first game, Ion should not be a thing. Not this early.
Maybe not, but like my whole thinking is like if they were to add like all the human Green Lanterns and like make them all playable, I would want each of them to feel different. So like I would want Kyle to be Ion or a White Lantern. Like those are like the only really 2 options I can see where he wouldn't need to recharge at all.
Because it's the first game, I feel like it's, especially since like we were talking about, Green Lantern isn't as well known as he should be. You can't start off throwing in White Lanterns and Ion.
I mean, like I would understand that. I would understand that.
Regular Green Lantern Colorado.
Eventually, I would want it to get to that point. And I would want Hal Jordan because Hal Jordan's the most powerful Green Lantern. he reforged his ring, I would want him to be able to like create his own lantern battery, like power battery, like a construct, and recharge his ring like that. So he'd just be able to keep recharging himself. The other Green Lanterns would have to go to a planet or they would have to go find their power battery. That's something they would have to do. While Hal would just be able to recharge
You
himself.
can just go and pick up your power battery and put it wherever you want. So you can just.
I would want something like that, because that's been a plot line in Green Lantern stories before, where they're about to run out of battery and they're like, my power battery is like 3 planets away. I'm not gonna make it in time. So like that would be something you'd have to do, is like not keep track of your power battery, but like I feel like you should always be able to. You've played Avengers, right?
So you should always be able to fast travel to it, I feel like.
I don't know about fast travel, because if you're like in like a big battle or something like that.
No, not you should be able to fast travel in the middle of a fight. I'm just saying when you're not fighting, you should be able to fast travel to it.
But have you played the Avengers game? Because I remember you saying you were gonna get it. I don't know if you ever did. Have you played the Avengers game?
No.
Okay, so in the Avengers game, if you press up on the D-pad, you get kind of like a view of like the entire field, so you can see where your teammates are like in relation to you and stuff like that. I feel like you should be able to do that, but with your power battery, for like characters that aren't able. So if you're not Hal or Kyle, you'd be able to like press up on the D-pad, see like where your power battery is, and like that'd be funny if someone like left it like 30 planets away. It's just like 30,000 kilometers away. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But,
we gotta wrap this up, because
oh my god, I just so many ideas. You just keep scoring on ideas.
We were going for a while. I wanted it to be an hour, but we ended up going an hour 41.
Oh my god.
I don't know how we ended up doing it.
You keep giving me ideas. We'll talk about this off podcast then.
But yeah, this is the end of the episode.
Okay.
Make sure you subscribe. Well, wait, I messed up. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Dijon_mustard_432 on Instagram, on Twitter, Dijon_432 uppercase D. Or just type in my name, Deshaun Fortune. It'll be up top. You got a mirror, T_H_N.
In my hand.
Mirror, it'll be in his hand. And make sure you follow the podcast, the_mustard_cast on Instagram. Just the mustardcast on Twitter. Caps on each word. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and hit that notification bell. I'm Deshaun. Well, I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
I never say my name. I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
And that's the episode. I'm gonna stop recording.